The silver ships came out of nowhere. They appeared in Earth's space like ghosts becoming real. Hundreds of them surrounded the planet in perfect formation. Each ship was bigger than any human vessel. They gleamed in the sunlight like polished mirrors. Ambassador Sarah Chen stood at the window of Earth's main orbital station. She watched the alien fleet with calm eyes. Her hands were folded behind her back. Her face showed no fear. Behind her, technicians worked at their stations. The room buzzed with quiet activity. "Ma'am, we're getting a transmission," said Lieutenant Torres. His voice was steady, but Chen could hear the tension underneath. "Put it through to the main screen," Chen replied. Her voice was soft and controlled. The screen flickered to life. An alien face appeared. It had blue-gray skin and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. The creature wore robes that shimmered with strange patterns. When it spoke, the translation software made its voice sound cold and mechanical. "I am Ambassador Zethkari of the Galactic Council. I speak for 847 civilized worlds across this galaxy. We demand immediate audience with your planetary leadership." Chen stepped forward. A small smile played at the corners of her mouth. "I am Ambassador Sarah Chen, representing Earth and her colonies. We welcome you to our system. How may we help you?" Zethkari's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Help us? Human, you misunderstand your position. We are here to offer you terms. Your species has expanded too rapidly. You have colonized 73 worlds in less than 2 centuries. This aggressive expansion threatens galactic peace." The smile on Chen's face never wavered. If anything, it grew slightly wider. "I see. Please continue. Your military buildup has not gone unnoticed. Your warships patrol space lanes that do not belong to you. Your species shows all the signs of a conqueror race. The Council has seen this pattern before. It always ends in war and suffering." Chen nodded slowly. "And what does the Council propose?" Zethkari straightened in his chair. His voice took on a formal tone. "The Galactic Council hereby demands the immediate surrender of all human military forces. You will dismantle your weapons of war. Your colonies will be relocated to designated sectors under Council supervision. Earth itself will accept a Council protectorate status. You have 72 hours to comply." The control room fell silent. Every human present had stopped working. They all stared at the screen. Chen's smile remained fixed in place. Her eyes never blinked. "And if we refuse?" she asked. Her voice was as calm as if she were discussing the weather. "Then the Council will enforce peace upon your species. Our fleet represents the combined military might of nearly 1,000 worlds. Resistance would be futile and would only result in unnecessary suffering for your people." Chen nodded again. "I understand. We will need to discuss this with our leadership, of course. When would you like our response?" "You have 72 hours. Not 1 minute more." The transmission ended. The screen went dark. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Lieutenant Torres cleared his throat. "Ma'am, should I contact Earth Command?" "Yes," Chen said. She turned away from the screen. Her smile had not changed once during the entire conversation. "Tell them we have visitors. Tell them to prepare Protocol 7. Torres paused. "Protocol 7, ma'am." "Are you sure?" Chen's smile became something different. It was still a smile, but now it seemed to carry winter in it. "Quite sure, Lieutenant. It's time our new friends learned what humanity is really like." Across the galaxy, other conversations were taking place. On the Council homeworld of Centaurus Prime, the Grand Assembly was meeting. The chamber was vast, with representatives from hundreds of worlds. Some were humanoid. Others were so alien that they needed special environments just to survive in the same room. High Counselor Vexithari called for order. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "The human ultimatum has been delivered. Ambassador Zethkari reports that they seemed surprisingly calm about it." "Calm?" asked Counselor Reith from the Andromedan sector. "That's unexpected. Most species either surrender immediately or fly into rage when faced with our fleet." "Humans are different," said another voice. It belonged to Counselor Krivas, military advisor to the Assembly. "Our scouts have been watching them for decades. They're aggressive, yes, but they're also clever. Too clever." "Explain," Vexithari commanded. Krivas activated a holographic display. Images of human ships and colonies filled the air above the assembly floor. "Look at their expansion pattern. It appears random at first glance, but analyze it carefully and you see something else. Every colony is positioned to support the others. Every trade route can become a supply line. Every civilian installation can be converted to military use. You're suggesting they've been planning for war? Asked Reith. I'm suggesting they've been planning for us, Krivas replied. They knew they would eventually meet other species. They knew some of those species might be hostile. So they prepared. The question is, how well did they prepare? Back on Earth, President Maria Santos sat in the Situation Room deep beneath the Capitol. Around the table sat the heads of every major military branch, intelligence agency, and colonial administration. The room was quiet except for the hum of computer systems. Ladies and gentlemen, Santos began, we all knew this day might come. Ever since we first looked at the stars, we've wondered what else might be out there. Now we know. General Harrison, head of Earth Defense Command, leaned forward. Protocol 7 is ready, Madam President. It has been for the past 50 years. The question is whether we want to use it. What exactly are our options? Asked Director Walsh from Colonial Intelligence. Harrison touched his tablet. A three-dimensional map of human space appeared above the table. Option 1, we surrender. Accept their terms. Hope they treat us fairly. He paused. I don't recommend this option. Option 2? Santos asked. We fight conventionally. Our fleet against theirs. Our weapons against theirs. Our tactics against theirs. Harrison shook his head. They outnumber us significantly. We would lose. And option 3? Harrison's expression grew grim. Protocol 7, total war. No rules, no mercy. No surrender. He looked around the table. We show them what humans are really like when we stop being polite. Santos was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her children, about all the children on Earth and the colonies, about the future humanity might have among the stars, about the future they might not have if they chose wrong. How long do we have? She asked. 72 hours, replied Admiral Chen from Fleet Command. But we should assume they'll monitor our communications. We need to decide quickly. Santos nodded. Very well. Transmit activation codes for Protocol 7 to all colonies and fleet elements. Begin immediate implementation. And someone get me a direct line to Ambassador Chen. I want to personally deliver our response to the Galactic Council. On the orbital station, Sarah Chen received the President's orders. She read them twice to make sure she understood. Then she walked back to the communications array. Her smile had not left her face. Lieutenant Torres, she called. Please open a channel to the Council fleet. Yes, ma'am. Channel open. Chen looked directly into the camera. Her smile was warm and friendly. To anyone watching, she looked like someone about to deliver good news. Ambassador Zeth Kari, this is Ambassador Chen. We have discussed your generous offer with our leadership. I'm afraid we must respectfully decline. Humanity has no intention of surrendering. We hope you understand. She ended the transmission and turned to Torres. Now, Lieutenant, please send a message to all human vessels and installations. Tell them the Council has declared war on humanity. Tell them it's time to show our guests what we've been preparing for all these years. Torres nodded. His fingers moved across his console. Within minutes, the message was spreading across human space at faster than light speeds. On every world, in every ship, in every hidden installation, humans received the same orders. Protocol 7 was now active. The war was about to begin, and humanity was smiling. Option 2? Santos asked. We fight conventionally. Our fleet against theirs. Our weapons against theirs. Our tactics against theirs. Harrison shook his head. They outnumber us significantly. We would lose. And option 3? Harrison's expression grew grim. Protocol 7, total war. No rules, no mercy. No surrender. He looked around the table. We show them what humans are really like when we stop being polite. Santos was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her children, about all the children on Earth and the colonies, about the future humanity might have among the stars, about the future they might not have if they chose wrong. How long do we have? She asked. 72 hours, replied Admiral Chen from Fleet Command. But we should assume they'll monitor our communications. We need to decide quickly. Santos nodded. Very well. Transmit activation codes for Protocol 7 to all colonies and fleet elements. Begin immediate implementation. And someone get me a direct line to Ambassador Chen. I want to personally deliver our response to the Galactic Council. On the orbital station, Sarah Chen received the President's orders. She read them twice to make sure she understood. Then she walked back to the communications array. Her smile had not left her face. Lieutenant Torres, she called. Please open a channel to the Council fleet. Yes, ma'am. Channel open. Chen looked directly into the camera. Her smile was warm and friendly. To anyone watching, she looked like someone about to deliver good news. Ambassador Zeth Kari, this is Ambassador Chen. We have discussed your generous offer with our leadership. I'm afraid we must respectfully decline. Humanity has no intention of surrendering. We hope you understand. She ended the transmission and turned to Torres. Now, Lieutenant, please send a message to all human vessels and installations. Tell them the Council has declared war on humanity. Tell them it's time to show our guests what we've been preparing for all these years. Torres nodded. His fingers moved across his console. Within minutes, the message was spreading across human space at faster than light speeds. On every world, in every ship, in every hidden installation, humans received the same orders. Protocol 7 was now active. The war was about to begin, and humanity was smiling. President Maria Santos walked into the Global Assembly Hall with steady steps. Representatives from every nation on Earth sat in the curved rows of seats. Above them, holographic displays showed the positions of the alien fleet. The room was completely silent. Santos took her place at the central podium. She looked out at the faces watching her. Some showed fear. Others showed anger. But most showed something else entirely. They showed the same cold smile that Ambassador Chen had worn. My fellow humans, Santos began. Her voice carried clearly through the hall. Today we received an ultimatum from something called the Galactic Council. They represent nearly 1,000 worlds across our galaxy. They have demanded our complete surrender. A murmur ran through the assembly. Santos raised her hand for silence. They want us to give up our weapons. They want us to abandon most of our colonies. They want us to accept their rule over our lives and our children's lives. Santos paused. They seem to think we have no choice in this matter. The murmur grew louder. Santos smiled. It was the same smile Chen had worn. Cold and patient and somehow terrible. I have a message for the Galactic Council, she continued. Humanity thanks them for their concern. We appreciate their offer of protection. But we must respectfully decline. We have been taking care of ourselves for quite some time now. We think we can continue to do so. The assembly erupted in applause. It was not the wild cheering of an excited crowd. It was the slow, rhythmic clapping of people who had just heard exactly what they wanted to hear. Santos waited for quiet. The Council fleet is large. Their weapons are advanced. They believe this makes them superior to us. They may be right. We will find out together. In the Council fleet, Ambassador Zeth Kari studied the human response with growing confusion. He called up the files his people had compiled on human behavior. Nothing in their data suggested humans would react this way. Communications officer, he said. Are you certain the translation was correct? Yes, Ambassador. They declined our offer. They actually used the word respectfully while doing it. Zeth Kari's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. In his species, this was a sign of deep thought. What is their fleet status? Unchanged, sir. Their military vessels remain in their normal patrol patterns. No signs of mobilization. No emergency broadcasts. It's as if they don't understand the threat they face. Or they don't consider it a threat, said a new voice. Zeth Kari turned. Admiral Krivas had entered the command center. The military commander's scales were a dark blue color that indicated concern. Admiral, what brings you here? Curiosity, Krivas replied. I've been studying human tactical patterns for months. Their response doesn't match any known behavioral model. Explain. Krivas activated a holographic display. It showed human space with all known colonies, trade routes, and military installations. Look at this pattern. See how their colonies are positioned? How their trade routes interconnect? How their military bases support each other? Zeth Kari studied the display. It appears efficient. It's more than efficient. It's perfect. Krivas highlighted certain points on the map. Every colony can support every other colony. Every trade route has 3 alternate paths. Every military installation can be supplied from multiple directions. This isn't the result of random expansion. This is the result of careful planning. Planning for what? For exactly this situation. Krivas changed the display. Now it showed probable human fleet movements and supply lines. They've been preparing for a galactic war since before they even knew we existed. On the human colony of New Terra, Governor Lisa Park received the Protocol 7 activation codes. She read them once, then called her staff into the main conference room. The colony was home to 2 million people. It was supposed to be a peaceful farming world. "Ladies and gentlemen," Park announced, "we've just received activation codes for Protocol 7. You all know what that means." Around the table, her staff nodded grimly. They had all trained for this. Every human colony had trained for this. "Dr. Peterson, what's the status of our mining operation?" "All equipment is in position, Governor. We can begin conversion immediately." "Defense systems? Ready for activation." "The orbital platforms have been in place for 6 months. They're disguised as communication satellites. Population centers? All underground facilities are prepared. The entire civilian population can be relocated within 4 hours." Park nodded. "Begin immediate implementation. And send a message to Fleet Command. Tell them New Terra is ready for war." Similar conversations were taking place across human space. On Europa Station, the massive ice mining facility began converting its equipment into weapons manufacturing. On Titan Base, the research laboratory started producing military hardware. On Mars, the terraforming equipment was repurposed for military engineering. But the most important changes were happening in places the Council had never seen. Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, construction crews worked around the clock. What had appeared to be mining operations were revealed as something else entirely. Massive shipyards hidden inside hollowed-out asteroids began launching vessels. These ships were unlike anything in the human fleet. They were designed for one purpose: total war. Captain Jennifer Torres commanded one of these hidden facilities. Her asteroid looked like any other chunk of rock floating in space. Inside, it housed a fleet base capable of launching 50 warships. She had been waiting for this order for 15 years. "All stations, this is command," she announced over the facility's communication system. "Protocol 7 is now active. Begin immediate deployment of all assets. We are no longer pretending to be a mining operation." The asteroid cracked open like an egg. Hidden doors that had been disguised as natural rock formations slid aside. Ships began emerging. First dozens, then hundreds. Each one was painted in the black and silver colors of deep space warfare. Torres smiled as she watched them deploy. It was the same cold smile that seemed to be spreading across all of humanity. On Earth, General Harrison stood in the command center of the Global Defense Network. Around him, technicians monitored screens showing activity across human space. Every few minutes, new contacts appeared on the displays. Ships that had been hidden, bases that had been camouflaged, weapons that had been concealed, "Sir," called Lieutenant Morrison. "We're getting reports from all sectors. Full deployment is proceeding on schedule. How long until we're at full readiness?" 18 hours, sir." "Maybe less," Harrison nodded. "Good. And our friends in the Council fleet?" "Still maintaining their positions around Earth. No change in their formation or alert status." "They're waiting for us to panic," Harrison realized. "They think we'll see their big fleet and surrender out of fear. Will we panic, sir?" Harrison's smile was cold as winter. "Lieutenant, humans don't panic, we plan. And we've been planning for this for a very long time." In the depths of space, far from any star, a massive structure hung in the darkness. It was bigger than most cities. Its hull was black, designed to absorb rather than reflect light. No scanner would detect it unless they knew exactly where to look. This was the Geneva Station, humanity's most secret military installation. It had been under construction for 30 years. Its existence was known to fewer than 1,000 people in all of human space. Admiral Sarah Reeves commanded Geneva Station. She had been chosen for this position not because of her tactical skill, though that was considerable. She had been chosen because of her ability to think like humanity's enemies. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving Protocol 7 activation." "Acknowledged. Begin full deployment. Signal all deep space assets to move to attack positions." "Ma'am, should we inform the Council of our existence?" Reeves considered this. "Not yet. Let them think they know everything about our capabilities. It will make the surprise more complete." The station began to move. Engines that had been hidden within its structure activated. It was not just a base. It was a mobile fortress, and it was heading toward the Council fleet. Ambassador Zethkari was beginning to feel uneasy. His sensors showed increasing activity throughout human space, but nothing that suggested military preparation. Ships were moving, but they appeared to be civilian vessels. Communications were increasing, but they seemed to be normal commercial traffic. "Status report," he demanded. "No change in human military posture," his tactical officer replied. Their fleet maintains normal patrol patterns. No signs of mobilization or combat preparation. What about their colonies? Some increase in industrial activity. Nothing unusual for a growing civilization. Zethkari was not satisfied. Something felt wrong. He had delivered ultimatums to dozens of species over his career. They all followed predictable patterns. They either surrendered immediately or began frantic military preparations. Humans were doing neither. "Open a channel to their orbital station," he ordered. Ambassador Chen appeared on his screen again. She still wore that same friendly smile. "Ambassador Zethkari," she said pleasantly. "How may I help you? We have detected increased activity in your space. Are you preparing for military action?" Chen's smile never wavered. "Oh no, nothing like that. Just normal commercial operations. You know how busy human space can be. You have 18 hours remaining to comply with our ultimatum." "Yes, I'm aware of the time limit. We're still discussing your generous offer with our various governments. Democracy can be slow, you understand?" Zethkari ended the transmission. Something about the human ambassador disturbed him. Her calmness was unnatural. Her smile never changed. It was as if she knew something he didn't, which of course she did. All across human space, the transformation continued. Mining ships revealed hidden weapons. Cargo vessels deployed military equipment. Research stations began producing implements of war. And everywhere, humans worked with the same calm efficiency they had always shown. But now they were working toward a single goal, showing the Galactic Council exactly what humanity was capable of when it stopped being polite. The smile was spreading, and soon the galaxy would understand what it meant. Admiral Krivas could not sleep. He floated in his rest chamber aboard the Council flagship, but his mind would not quiet. The humans bothered him in ways he could not explain. Their calmness was wrong. Their confidence was impossible. He activated his personal terminal and began reviewing intelligence reports again. For the 100th time, he studied human expansion patterns. For the 100th time, he felt that cold touch of unease. "Computer," he said aloud, "display human colonization timeline." The screen filled with data. Humanity had left their homeworld 200 years ago. Their first colony ship had been slow and primitive, but each generation of ships had been faster, more advanced, more capable. Within 50 years, they had established colonies on 20 worlds. Within a century, they controlled 50 systems. Now they claimed 73 worlds. But something was wrong with the numbers. Krivas pulled up the detailed survey reports. Council scouts had been monitoring human expansion for decades. They had identified and cataloged every human colony, every mining operation, every research station. The total was 73 inhabited worlds. So why did the shipping manifest suggest activity on over 200 worlds? Computer, cross-reference human cargo movements with known colony locations. The analysis took several minutes. When it finished, Krivas stared at the results in growing horror. Human ships were making regular supply runs to locations that were supposed to be empty space. Massive cargo movements to systems that showed no signs of habitation. Industrial equipment shipments to worlds that were listed as uninhabitable. Computer, expand search parameters. Include all human commercial traffic for the past 50 years. This time the analysis took an hour. When it finished, Krivas felt his blood turn cold. The humans had been lying, not just recently, but for decades. Their true expansion was 3 times larger than they had reported. They had been building hidden colonies, secret installations, concealed military bases. Krivas activated his emergency communicator. "Ambassador Zethkari, please report to my quarters immediately." Within minutes, the ambassador arrived. His 4 eyes were dim with fatigue. "Admiral, it's the middle of the night cycle. What could be so urgent? The humans have been deceiving us." Krivas displayed his findings. "Look at these shipping records. They've been supplying installations that don't exist on our charts." Zethkari studied the data. Slowly, his eyes brightened with alarm. "How many hidden colonies are we talking about?" "At minimum, over 100. Possibly twice that." Krivas highlighted several star systems. "These locations show massive industrial activity but no official human presence. We've been watching their front door while they built a city behind our backs." "What kind of installations?" "Unknown. But look at the cargo manifests. Military-grade metals, weapon components, starship engines. They're not mining colonies, Ambassador." Zethkari was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was strained. How long have they been building these installations? The shipping records go back 50 years, but the heavy construction materials started moving 20 years ago. Krivas met the ambassador's gaze. They've been preparing for this confrontation since before we ever made contact with them. That's impossible. They didn't know we existed, didn't they? Krivas called up another display. Look at their exploration patterns. Their deep space probes. Their listening posts. Ambassador, they've been searching for other intelligent life since they first left their homeworld, and they've been preparing for the possibility that those other intelligences might be hostile. On Earth, President Santos stood in the Global Command Center. The room was deep underground, protected by layers of rock and steel and energy shields. Around her, displays showed the status of human forces across the galaxy. What she saw made her smile. General Harrison, report. All hidden installations are now active, Madam President. We have military bases in 147 systems that the Council doesn't know about. Our stealth fleet is deploying to attack positions. The Titan shipyards are operating at full capacity. How long until we're ready? 6 hours for full deployment. But we could begin operations immediately if necessary. Santos nodded. And our conventional forces? Still maintaining normal patrol patterns. As far as the Council knows, we have exactly what we've always claimed to have. They have no idea what they're really facing. Excellent. What about civilian evacuation? All non-essential personnel have been moved to secure locations. Every major population center has underground facilities capable of housing the entire population. We can protect our people even if they glass the surface of our worlds. Santos turned to Admiral Chen, who was participating via holographic link from the orbital station. Any changes in the Council fleet? No changes in formation or alert status. They're still treating this as a police action rather than a military operation. Ambassador Zethkari seems increasingly nervous, but they haven't altered their tactical posture. Good. Let them stay confident. It will make the shock more complete. In the asteroid belt, Captain Torres watched her ships deploy from their hidden base. The massive asteroid had been completely hollowed out over 15 years. What had appeared to be a simple mining operation was actually one of humanity's most advanced military installations. Captain, her communications officer reported, we're receiving deployment orders from Earth Command. Go ahead. All stealth units are to take positions around the Council fleet. We're to remain hidden until Phase 2 begins. Torres smiled. Her ships were painted in adaptive camouflage that made them nearly invisible against the background of space. The Council scanners would never detect them until it was too late. Signal the fleet. Move to attack positions. And remind all ship commanders, no one fires until I give the order. The ships moved like ghosts through space. 50 vessels, each one designed specifically for stealth warfare. They had been built in secret, launched in secret, and trained in secret. The Council had no idea they existed. Similar deployments were happening throughout human space. The Geneva station had emerged from its hiding place in deep space and was moving toward the Sol system. A massive fleet of warships was assembling in the Centauri system, hidden behind the gas giant's radiation signature. On dozens of worlds, orbital defense platforms that had been disguised as communication satellites were powering up their weapons. But the most significant change was happening in human space itself. Admiral Krivas had called an emergency session of the Council's military command. The holographic images of a dozen alien officers filled the conference room aboard the flagship. We have a serious problem, Krivas began. He displayed the intelligence data he had compiled. The humans have been systematically deceiving us about their true capabilities. General Thexari of the Third Fleet leaned forward. His insect-like features showed confusion. Explain the scope of this deception. They claim 73 worlds. We now believe they control over 200. They claim a small merchant fleet. Our analysis suggests they have been building military vessels in secret for decades. They appear to have extensive hidden infrastructure throughout their space. How is this possible? Asked Admiral Vorndas. Our scouts have surveyed human space extensively. Our scouts have surveyed what the humans wanted us to see, Krivas replied grimly. They've been showing us their civilian operations while hiding their military preparations. It's been a deception on a galactic scale. The conference room fell silent. Finally, General Thexari spoke. What do you recommend? We increase our alert status immediately. We assume that everything we know about human capabilities is wrong, and we prepare for the possibility that they actually intend to fight us. Fight us? Admiral Vorndas sounded incredulous. Even if they have twice as many ships as we thought, they're still facing the combined might of nearly 1,000 worlds. Yes, Krivas agreed. But what if they know something we don't? On the human colony of Kepler Prime, Governor Martinez watched the transformation of his world with quiet satisfaction. The colony had been established 15 years ago as an agricultural center. It produced food for 6 other worlds in the local sector. What the council didn't know was that beneath the farms lay the largest weapons manufacturing facility in human space. Status report, Martinez called. All production lines are active, replied his industrial coordinator. We're producing weapons at maximum capacity. The orbital elevators are moving military equipment every 12 minutes. Defensive preparations? The population is secured in underground facilities. The orbital defense grid is fully active. If the council attacks, we're ready for them. Martinez smiled. Every human colony had similar preparations. What appeared to be peaceful farming worlds or mining operations were actually fortress worlds, each one capable of defending itself and supporting military operations. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them Kepler Prime is ready for war. Ambassador Zethkari stood before the main viewer on his ship, staring at the blue-green world below. Earth looked peaceful from orbit. Its cities glowed softly in the darkness. Its ships moved in orderly patterns between the planet and its moon. But now he wondered what he wasn't seeing. Communications officer, any response to our ultimatum? No formal response, sir. But we're detecting increased communications traffic throughout human space. What kind of communications? Encrypted data bursts. We can't break the encryption, but the volume is increasing exponentially. Zethkari felt that cold touch of fear again. How much time remains? 4 hours until the deadline, sir. Signal the fleet. Increase alert status to yellow. Begin active sensor sweeps of all human vessels and installations. Yes, sir. But it was already too late. While the Council had been waiting for humanity to surrender, humanity had been preparing for war. Hidden bases were coming online. Secret fleets were moving into position. Weapons that had been concealed for decades were powering up. The humans had spent 2 centuries expanding across the galaxy, but they had also spent 2 centuries preparing for exactly this moment. They had always known they would eventually meet other intelligent species. They had always assumed some of those species would be hostile. So they had prepared, not just for trade or diplomacy, but for total war. And now the Galactic Council was about to discover what humanity looked like when it stopped smiling and started fighting. The revelation was about to begin, and it would shake the galaxy to its core. The deadline passed in silence. Ambassador Zethkari waited on the bridge of his flagship, expecting some last-minute plea from the humans. Perhaps they would beg for more time. Perhaps they would try to negotiate. Most species did when faced with the overwhelming power of the Council fleet, but no communication came. Sir, his communications officer reported, the deadline has passed. No response from Earth. Zethkari straightened in his command chair. Around him, the bridge crew waited for orders. He had delivered ultimatums dozens of times before. The procedure was always the same. When a species refused to surrender, the Council demonstrated their power with a limited strike. A military base destroyed, a small ship disabled, just enough to show that resistance was futile. Signal the fleet, he commanded. Target the human orbital station. Weapons only. We'll show them what happens to those who defy the Council. Yes, sir. Fleet acknowledging. Weapons charging. But before the Council ships could fire, something happened that no one expected. Space itself seemed to ripple around the Council fleet. Sir, the tactical officer's voice was sharp with alarm. Multiple contacts. Ships appearing all around us. The main viewer flickered to life. What Zethkari saw made his 4 eyes widen in shock. Human ships were materializing out of nowhere. Dozens of them. They seemed to simply fade into existence as if they had been invisible moments before. Where did they come from? Zethkari demanded. Unknown, sir. They weren't there a second ago. Admiral Krivas burst onto the bridge. His scales had turned the deep black color that indicated extreme alarm. All ships, defensive positions. We're surrounded. The Council fleet scrambled to respond. Their ships began turning to face the new threats. But more human vessels kept appearing. First dozens, then hundreds. They materialized at impossible angles, from directions that should have been empty space. How many ships? Krivas barked. Still counting, sir. Over 300 and climbing. 300? That's impossible. Intelligence said they had fewer than 50 military vessels. On the human orbital station, Ambassador Chen watched the chaos in the Council fleet with quiet satisfaction. Her smile had never left her face, but now it seemed to carry a different meaning entirely. Signal all human vessels, she commanded. Begin Phase 2. Lieutenant Torres nodded. Yes, ma'am. Transmitting now. Across human space, the real war began. The Council had been expecting to face 73 human worlds with limited military capabilities. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. The first shock came when the human merchant ships began attacking Council supply convoys. Vessels that had appeared harmless revealed hidden weapons and military-grade shields. Cargo holds that should have contained trade goods opened to launch fighter craft. The second shock came when human colonies turned out to be fortress worlds. The Council's Third Fleet moved to occupy the mining world of Vega 7. Instead of defenseless civilians, they found orbital weapon platforms that had been disguised as communication satellites. The platforms opened fire with weapons that could crack the hull of a battleship, but the greatest shock came when the humans revealed their true fleet. Strength. Captain Torres commanded one of the stealth ships that had surrounded the Council fleet at Earth. Her vessel had been hidden for hours, waiting for the order to reveal itself. When that order came, she smiled the same cold smile that seemed to mark all of humanity. All stations, this is the commander, she announced over her ship's communication system. We are no longer hiding. Show the Council what human engineering looks like. Her ship dropped its stealth field and powered up its weapons. Around the Council fleet, hundreds of other ships did the same. They had been there all along, invisible and waiting. But these were not the small patrol craft the Council had expected. These were warships built specifically for combat against superior numbers. They were fast, heavily armed, and designed with one purpose: to kill enemy vessels as efficiently as possible. Target the flagship, Torres ordered. Let's introduce ourselves properly. Her ship opened fire, not with energy beams or plasma bolts, but with kinetic projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. The projectiles punched through the Council flagship's shields like they were paper and tore massive holes in its hull. Similar attacks were happening throughout the Council formation. Human ships appeared, fired devastating salvos, then vanished back into stealth. The Council fleet, designed for overwhelming firepower against conventional enemies, found itself unable to hit targets it couldn't see. Damage report, Sethkari shouted over the alarm sirens. Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Shield generators offline. We're venting atmosphere. Return fire. At what, sir? They disappeared again. Admiral Krivas grabbed the nearest communication console. All ships, scatter formation. Activate all sensor arrays. Find those stealth ships. But even as he gave the orders, he knew they were in trouble. The humans weren't fighting like any enemy the Council had faced before. They weren't trying to hold territory or protect specific targets. They were fighting like predators, striking from ambush and vanishing before retaliation was possible. The attacks spread throughout Council space. The Fourth Fleet, stationed near the Council homeworld, received reports of human raids on supply depots. Impossible raids because humans weren't supposed to have ships in Council territory. But somehow they were there, striking at military installations that should have been completely secure. The Seventh Fleet, patrolling the Outer Rim, found their communication arrays under attack by human ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. When they moved to respond, the attackers vanished, only to reappear somewhere else entirely. Most disturbing of all were the reports from Council colonies. Human forces were attacking civilian targets, but not in the way the Council expected. They weren't destroying cities or killing populations. Instead, they were systematically destroying infrastructure. Power plants, communication centers, transportation hubs. They were cutting the Council's ability to coordinate their response. In the Council's Strategic Command Center on Centaurus Prime, High Counselor Vexithari stared at the tactical displays in growing horror. Red indicators showed attacks throughout Council space. Their forces were under assault on dozens of fronts simultaneously. "How is this possible?" she demanded. "How can they be attacking us everywhere at once?" General Thexari activated a holographic display. "We're still analyzing the attacks, but preliminary reports suggest the humans have been positioning assets throughout our space for years. Possibly decades. What kind of assets? Stealth ships. Hidden bases, sleeper agents. They've been preparing for this war since before we ever made contact with them. Vexithari felt a chill run through her. You're saying they planned this? I'm saying they've been planning for exactly this scenario since they first left their homeworld. They knew they would eventually encounter other intelligent species. They assumed those species would be hostile, so they prepared accordingly. The holographic display changed, showing human ship movements throughout Council space. The pattern was clear and terrifying. Every attack was coordinated. Every strike served a strategic purpose. The humans weren't fighting in anger or desperation. They were executing a plan that had been decades in the making. Recommendations? Vexithari asked. Recall all fleets to defend our core worlds. Abandon the human offensive. Focus on protecting our own territory. And if we do that? Vexithari was quiet for a moment. Then we're admitting that a single species has defeated the combined military might of 800 worlds. Back at Earth, the Council fleet was in full retreat. What had begun as a demonstration of overwhelming force had become a disaster. Half their ships were damaged or destroyed. The rest were limping away from the human system as fast as their engines could carry them. Ambassador Zethkari sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. His mighty fleet had been routed by enemies they hadn't even known existed an hour ago. Sir, his communications officer called weakly. We're receiving a transmission from the human orbital station. Put it through. Ambassador Chen appeared on the main screen. She still wore that same pleasant smile, but now Zethkari could see it for what it really was. It wasn't politeness or diplomacy. It was the smile of a predator that had just finished playing with its prey. Ambassador Zethkari, she said pleasantly. I hope you're having a pleasant journey home. I wanted to thank you for visiting our system. It's been quite educational for both our species, I think. This isn't over, Zethkari managed. Oh, but I think it is. Chen's smile widened slightly. You see, you made the mistake of threatening humanity's children. That's something we simply cannot allow. So we've decided to teach the galaxy a lesson about what happens when someone tries to hurt our families. The Council will never surrender. Surrender? Chen looked genuinely surprised. Who said anything about surrender? We're not interested in conquest, Ambassador. We're interested in making sure this never happens again. We're going to make it very clear to everyone in the galaxy that humanity is not to be threatened. Ever. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. Zethkari sat in silence, finally understanding the terrible truth. The humans hadn't been preparing to defend themselves. They had been preparing to teach the galaxy what happened to anyone who threatened them. And the lesson was just beginning. Across Council space, human attacks continued, but now they carried a message. Surrender was not required. Submission was not demanded. The humans wanted something much simpler and much more terrifying. They wanted to make sure that no one in the galaxy would ever again make the mistake of threatening humanity. The trap had been sprung, and the galaxy was about to learn what humans really looked like when they stopped being polite. 3 months after the Council's ultimatum, the galaxy had learned a new truth. Humanity was not the friendly neighbor they had pretended to be. The Galactic Council's mighty fleet was scattered across a dozen systems, licking wounds that would take years to heal. Their supply lines were cut. Their communication networks were compromised. Their proud alliance of 800 worlds was crumbling as member species began to question whether the Council could protect them from humanity's wrath. On Centaurus Prime, High Counselor Vexithari sat in an emergency session with the surviving members of the Council leadership. The Grand Assembly Hall, which once housed representatives from hundreds of worlds, was now half empty. Many species had withdrawn their ambassadors, claiming they needed to defend their homeworlds. Status report, Vexithari commanded, though she dreaded the answer. General Thexari's insect features were dulled with exhaustion. The situation continues to deteriorate. Human forces have attacked military installations in 47 systems. They've disrupted shipping lanes throughout the Outer Rim. 3 member species have formally requested Council protection, which we cannot provide. What about our own fleets? The 2nd Fleet is regrouping after the disaster at Alpha Centauri. The 4th Fleet is defending the core worlds. The 7th Fleet, he paused. The 7th Fleet has not reported in for 6 days. Vexithari felt her heart sink. The 7th Fleet had been their largest, most powerful force. If it was gone, then the Council's military power was broken. Recommendations? Open negotiations with the humans immediately. You're suggesting we surrender. I'm suggesting we survive. Texari activated a holographic display showing human space. Look at this pattern. They're not trying to conquer us. They're not demanding territory or tribute. They're simply demonstrating that they can destroy us whenever they choose. The display showed the extent of human attacks. Military bases reduced to rubble. Supply depots turned to scrap metal. Communication networks severed. But civilian populations were untouched. Cities remained intact. Trade continued between non-military targets. They're showing restraint, Vexathari realized. Yes, they could have glassed our homeworlds by now. They could have killed billions of civilians. Instead, they're surgically removing our ability to threaten them while leaving our people alive. Vexathari met her gaze. They're not monsters, counselor. They're something worse. They're professional. On Earth, President Santos stood in the Global Command Center watching the reports flow in from across the galaxy. The operation was proceeding exactly as planned. Phase 3 was nearly complete. General Harrison, what's our current status? All primary objectives achieved, Madam President. Council military capacity reduced by 70%. Their communication networks compromised. Supply lines disrupted. Member species beginning to withdraw from the alliance. Casualties? Minimal on both sides. Our forces have been instructed to target military infrastructure only. Civilian casualties are less than 1% of what we projected. Santos nodded with satisfaction. Good, we're not butchers. We're teachers. What about Phase 4? Ready to implement on your order. But ma'am, are you certain about this? Once we reveal our true capabilities, there's no going back. Santos was quiet for a moment. She thought about the children playing in the parks outside. Unaware that their world had just fought and won a galactic war, she thought about the future those children would inherit. A future where humanity would never again be threatened by alien powers. Implement Phase 4, General. It's time to show the galaxy who we really are. In the depths of space, the Geneva station received its final orders. Admiral Reeves read them twice to make sure she understood. Then she smiled the same cold smile that had become humanity's signature. All stations, this is the Admiral, she announced over the ship's communication system. Phase 4 is now active. Begin full revelation protocols. The Geneva station had been humanity's greatest secret. For 30 years, it had been under construction in the void between stars. It was larger than most cities, more heavily armed than entire fleets, and completely invisible to conventional sensors. Now it was time to reveal what humanity had really been building. The station's stealth fields deactivated. Suddenly, Council sensors throughout the galaxy detected a massive artificial structure where none had existed before. But that was only the beginning. Similar revelations were happening across human space. Hidden shipyards revealed themselves, showing construction bays capable of building hundreds of warships simultaneously. Concealed fortress worlds dropped their camouflage, displaying orbital defense networks that could repel entire invasion fleets. Secret research stations began broadcasting their existence, along with data about weapons technologies that were decades ahead of anything the Council possessed. The message was clear. Everything the Council thought they knew about humanity had been a lie. On the Council homeworld, emergency sessions were being called in every government building. Ambassador Zethkari, his career destroyed by the human encounter, sat in his private chambers reading the intelligence reports with growing horror. Humanity didn't control 73 worlds. They controlled over 300. They didn't have a small merchant fleet. They had a military force larger than the combined navies of the Council's core worlds. They didn't have simple technology. Their weapons, ships, and defenses were so advanced that Council scientists could barely understand how they functioned. Most terrifying of all, they had been building this capability for 2 centuries. Every human colony, every trade mission, every diplomatic contact had been part of a vast deception designed to hide their true strength, while they prepared for exactly this confrontation. They knew, Zethkari whispered to himself. From the very beginning, they knew this would happen. A communication signal interrupted his thoughts. The display showed a familiar face. Ambassador Chen, still wearing that terrible smile. Ambassador Zethkari, she said pleasantly. I hope I'm not disturbing you. I wanted to have a final conversation about our recent misunderstanding. What do you want? Zethkari asked wearily. I want to explain something that I think your people may have missed. You see, when you demanded our surrender, you made a critical error in judgment. You assumed that humanity was weak because we appeared peaceful. You thought our friendliness was a sign of submission. Chen's smile grew wider, colder. But you never asked yourselves the important question: why was humanity being so friendly? Why were we so eager to trade, to share technology, to establish diplomatic relations? Why did we seem so interested in learning about other species? Zethkari felt a chill run through his body. Why? Because we were studying you. Every trade agreement, every diplomatic exchange, every cultural mission was an intelligence-gathering operation. We wanted to understand how the galaxy worked, who the major powers were, what their military capabilities looked like, how their political systems functioned. The truth hit Zethkari like a physical blow. You were preparing for war. We were preparing for survival, Chen corrected. We learned long ago that the universe is a dangerous place. Our own planet taught us that lesson repeatedly. Ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, plagues. We survived them all by being prepared for the worst possible outcome. And when we met other intelligent species, we applied the same principle. We hoped for the best. We tried to be friendly neighbors, but we prepared for the worst. We prepared for exactly what you tried to do to us. The display showed images of human installations throughout the galaxy, massive shipyards, fortress worlds, weapons that could destroy stars. All of it hidden, all of it built while humanity smiled and pretended to be harmless. You wanted to know our true capabilities, Chen continued. Very well. Humanity controls over 400 worlds. Our military consists of 12,000 warships, supported by thousands of automated defense platforms and mobile battle stations. Our technology is approximately 50 years ahead of your most advanced systems. Zethkari stared at the numbers in disbelief. 400 worlds? We've been exploring and colonizing the galaxy for 2 centuries, Ambassador. But we only told you about the worlds we wanted you to know about. The rest remained hidden until now. What do you want from us? Chen's expression became serious for the first time. We want to make sure this never happens again. We want every species in the galaxy to understand that humanity is not to be threatened, ever. We've already sent similar messages to every major power in Council space. The Hegemony, the Star Federation, the Collective. All of them have received demonstrations of our capabilities. And if they refuse to listen, then they'll learn the same lesson you did. But more permanently. The transmission ended, leaving Zethkari alone with the terrible knowledge of what humanity really was. They weren't conquerors or warmongers. They were something far more dangerous. They were a species that had learned to hide their true nature so well that even their enemies couldn't see them coming. On Earth, children played in parks while orbital defense platforms hung invisible in the sky above them. The platforms could destroy entire fleets, but the children didn't know that. They just knew they were safe. President Santos watched them through her office window and smiled. Not the cold smile of a predator, but the warm smile of a parent watching her children play without fear. General Harrison, she said without turning from the window. What's the status of the council? They're requesting formal negotiations, Madam President. Full diplomatic immunity, neutral meeting ground, the works. And our response? We've agreed to meet, but on our terms, in our space, with our security arrangements. Santos nodded. Good. And make sure they understand the new rules. Humanity will be happy to be their neighbor. We'll trade with them, share technology with them, even help them with their problems, but we will never again be their victims. What if they try to form another alliance against us? Santos finally turned from the window. Her smile was neither cold nor warm. It was simply confident. Let them try, General. We've been preparing for that possibility since before they knew we existed. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had shown them what happened when someone tried to threaten Earth's children. The demonstration had been thorough, professional, and devastating. But most importantly, it had been restrained. Humanity could have burned the Council worlds to ash. Instead, they had simply removed the Council's ability to threaten them while leaving their people alive to remember the lesson. The message was clear. Humanity would be the galaxy's friend or its teacher. The choice belonged to everyone else. But they would never again be anyone's victims. The cold smile had done its work, and now the galaxy would remember why it was never wise to threaten humanity's children. The war was over. Humanity had won, and they had done it while being more merciful than their enemies deserved. Because that, more than anything else, was what made them truly terrifying.